Hey, good morning, and I'm really glad to be here. We're really making history this morning at Latitude and today with bringing kids and youth to a tech conference. And this is why we're also having a panel on how to have families and entrepreneurship combined and what are the challenges and what are the opportunities in that. And I very much love to invite my panelists all on stage. Elina Arponen, the CEO and founder of Quicksave Interactive. She's a serial entrepreneur from gaming industry. Elina's husband has been a co-founder in both of her companies, and in addition to sharing companies, they share 2 kids. Then there's Taavet Hinrikus, the co-founder and chairman of TransferWise, an international money transfer platform. He has been the first employee of Skype, so I guess starting working for startups in late teens. And Taavet is a father of 2 kids as well. Then Rasmus Rask, an active social entrepreneur from Estonia. Among his many ventures are the Estonian first eco-friendly ice cream, LaMuu, an anti-bullying foundation for school children, a reuse center, and Tallinn Open School that is tackling the current status quo in education, I guess. Rasmus was named the Citizen of the Year last year in Estonia, and is a father of 2 again. And last but not least, Milda, Mitkute from Lithuania. She's the co-founder of Vinted, which is started at 21, and that's the world's largest pre-loved fashion marketplace. And she is also a mother of 2, and today she's here joined by her husband and a little 3-month-old baby, if I'm correct. So without further ado, let's get started. There's often a saying among young startup people that you cannot really combine entrepreneurship and families, that you need to pick either of these. I think you all are great examples, and that's not true at all. But nevertheless, I wonder, can you actually have it all, or do you need to make sacrifices? So Randy Zuckerberg has said that there's 5 things in life that are necessary components. That's work, sleep, family, fitness, and friends. And as an entrepreneur, you can pick 3 to manage things. Is this true for you, or can you actually have it all? I don't know. You want to start, Elina?
But yeah, I guess if you have small kids, it is hard to have all those 5 unless you can combine them. Like maybe you can do some fitness exercise with your kids, or if you're able to kind of combine some of those times. But that's only true when the kids are kind of small and under school age kids, and after that things get easier again. Yeah, so it does require some flexibility to combine things, but having entrepreneurship and family, those are also supporting each other, because you need a break from work, and your kids provide you also that mental break. Yeah.
How about sleep?
well, yeah. Sleep. Yeah. If the kids are very small and they don't sleep, then it's hard for you to sleep either. But yeah, I mean it's all manageable. I had a baby when we had a startup, and that went fine. I don't know if the baby was a good sleeper or what, but I mean we had no problems. I guess what you do get is you get questions from the outside, like other people are questioning whether you are being a good mom or dad, and you shouldn't listen to them. You should you're only responsible to your kids to show them that you love them and you care for them. And you shouldn't care what other people think if you are caring for them.
Taavet, how about you?
I don't think it's fair to single out entrepreneurship. I think it's whatever you're doing, if you're really passionate about it, it actually becomes really hard to do that, have a family, and do 3 other things as well. So it really comes down to prioritizing things, having a supporting partner, and then working really hard every day to make it somehow happen. My son was 5 days old when I had to go to Australia for 10 days. it's kind of hard. But then again, you find, I think, being an entrepreneur gives you a tiny bit more flexibility in some strange way. So I've had my family travel with me quite a bit. So my daughter has been to probably 4 continents now. Like I think I was 19 when I had my first flight to go to Helsinki. So in different ways you can make it work, but it's really about prioritizing making things work for everyone in the family.
Rasmus.
I don't have any friends. Out of these
Hi, I'm Taavet.
One friend. No, actually, I have 3 friends. So you need to prioritize, definitely. And for me, the balance or the question has been that the family comes first, and then whatever else I can fit into the schedule there. But it's possible. I think it is possible, of course, to have all the 5 elements present. Probably not at the same time. Need to juggle there a little bit.
Milda.
I actually had the same opinion that at the same time cannot have 5 of them, but I think that it's possible in if you take 20 years period, people live in some stages. Like for me, it was like entrepreneurship was like early stage of building Vinted, and it took about 5-6 years where I was fully into Vinted, and I didn't see life. I didn't have friends, and if I even used to see people in the street, I used to cross the street just because I didn't like the question, so how you're doing, because I didn't know how I'm doing, because all the things, everything in my mind was only about problems I'm solving at Vinted, so what I have to do, my to-do list and so on. So it's so I was at that extreme, and at that time I didn't go to any events, I didn't have so many friends. Well, I had friends, but I didn't meet them. And then, of course, family, no family at that time. But I think that, in different stages you choose, what kind of top 2, top 3 you choose. And that's fine, because, maybe we want to have everything and at the best quality right now. It's so human being to have everything at the moment. And I think that if we say to ourselves, it's okay to have only 2 or 3 of things right now, and later on I will keep with fitness or with friends. Or let's say, for me it was the biggest distinguish between family and work. Because for me it would be or. Early stage. If it's later stage, so that's fine, you can have both of them and that's fine. But if it's early stage, so I would say baby or work. So
yeah.
Can I So we actually, my husband is in the same startup, so we are both co-founders. There's also other co-founder, but we're both entrepreneurs, and we had a kid with a 2-year-old startup. We were always joking that, we had 2 natural kids, and then we had the startup, that was the 3rd kid. And sometimes the startup was the most demanding at times. But you can do it. You obviously you need the spouse's support, but because then it's all transparent. If you are going up or down in your moods with the company, the other one knows that, and it's easy to kind of compensate, and you divide work trips, when who travels and where, and sometimes you have the grandparents over, so you both can go, and so you need some support network, but or that at least that helps to make it easier. But it's definitely doable all at once. I've done it and survived.
My wife jokes that we have 3 kids: TransferWise, Antonia, and Theodore.
Yeah.
So I wonder, if the company is part of the family and it's part of the dinner discussions and the kids' soccer games and the vacations, etc. So how much do you actually include your spouses and kids in the understanding of what's going on in the company? For you, I guess, because your husband is a co-founder, that's kind of natural. But for the rest of you, how much is your family involved in your businesses?
I can start.
Yeah, sure.
So my husband has his own company, so he's also an entrepreneur. So he really understands what it means, to work not with a schedule, and that's why he actually helps me a lot. And even today we came together from Vilnius. So at the moment he's with my
he's without baby, and he sent me the picture like he's working with laptop and at the same time with one leg like taking care of the stroller. And this is like, we all in this, so we know how to work, like, and in this case, if your like second part, like your husband or wife is entrepreneur, I think it might be quite useful because they understand in where you are and what you're facing with.
Does anyone want to add on to this, or?
I think so maybe it's a little bit like having kids. Like if you talk to your friends who have kids, so if you don't have kids, it feels like a totally different world. You don't really, it's very kind of hard to get it. I think it's a little bit same with being an entrepreneur. Like it's hard to get other people to understand what it is. So I personally just like to, when I go home, I'd rather not, I try to make some separation if possible, so.
Yeah, we do that as well. Like we sometimes we decide like today no more work talk, and we do over the dinner we rather talk about the kids days and then just ours and yeah, so we do put limits on it. Yeah.
Rasmus, you started or became an entrepreneur when you already had a family. Was it then hard, or did you need to convince your spouse that we're taking that risk now and uncertainty and like this cool new type of lifestyle?
Well, I had a dilemma. I was working for a bank many years and was commuting on a weekly basis, 2-3 days in Stockholm, and the kids were small, like 1 and 3, and sort of I had a kind of a revelation or a very clear message coming from my son one evening or end of the work week when I was coming back from Stockholm by plane and came to the apartment, and then this small Hugo 3-year-old he ran towards me and was so cheerful and said that look, Daddy came to visit. And that kind of struck the chord that something needs to change. Because I had promised myself that I wouldn't be the Sunday pancake dad only. So this was something that I had a really deep thought about, and then we made a plan to get together with my wife that I need a plan, exit plan from the corporate world, so that actually. I was convinced that going into entrepreneurship allows me better control of my time. I don't know if this...
It does
Yeah,
in ways, because
yeah.
nobody questions you if you have to go to the daycare in the middle of the day, and you don't have to explain to your boss about where you're going, because you just go.
But I think it's also a thing of there's something evil about old corporate life, which probably many of us have escaped. Like for some reason, we're. I guess you can call TransferWise a corporate. We have 1,000 people in nine offices around the world, but for us it's entirely normal for anyone. If you need to go pick up your kid, it's part of the DNA of the company that flexibility and being a parent is something real. And if you force your people to be from 9 to 5 in the office, then something is wrong with that. So I think that's something which we need to think about. In terms of creating the workspace of today and the future, that flexibility is really important.
Yeah.
And we can't expect everyone to found a company to have flexibility.
Yeah, I agree.
So this is where I actually want to go next on a company level. In startups, they often start out with young 20-somethings when it's all work and play around the clock. And then it kind of evolves as we grow to a company of people with families. But at the same time, there's also the group of youngsters, maybe, or still young people. How do you make the company culture work in these types of companies where you want to keep it vibrant, you want to have a lot of team good team atmosphere, and then there's these. Young people who have a different perspective, and the family people who have a very different priorities and perspective. And Milda, maybe you can start with it.
Well, I was 21 when Vinted was started, so I was definitely about parties and everything with my like teammates. And actually the average of age at that time, it was about like our age. So we started with parties and we got older together. So this is like, we didn't have to think about like rules or policies, like how to make, like, how to combine more young people and older people with families, because we just got older, and then step by step we started to have kids. So like, even though I have kids at the moment, there are some people that still don't have, but they're planning, and that's why they're much more tolerant, they're much more like, open, and that's why it's like, it becomes like very natural. So for us, we didn't have to think about like proactively how to combine everything, because it worked naturally.
Elina, what about the gaming industry?
Well, the gaming industry is very youthful. Like there's a lot of gaming conferences that always have the kind of after work parts, and that's part of the thing. And I don't think it's going to disappear. I mean, we have grown up. Like now, a lot of game entrepreneurs do have their own kids, and that's why the kids' games have been gotten a lot better, because people have testers at home, and so you can see that it's more normal that there's balanced work hours. There's at least in Finland, like nobody's really glorifying crunch time anymore. Like it used to be in the industry that there's always the crunch, and the big warriors will fight that. And that's kind of gone. It's something that companies try to avoid and don't want to go there, and it's not like a necessary thing anymore. So it's good. I'd say that the family balance in the gaming industry is okay.
So I just thinking of TransferWise. I think, unfortunately, there's a little bit of two cultures. Like the people who don't have kids, they do have more flexibility. Like I've never had a chance to go to a pub after work, because if I'm not traveling, then it's pretty strict that I try to leave work at 6 to get home to see the kids and then start working again at 9. So I think it's unfortunate, and that's kind of part of the compromise you have to make. That if you want to be home for families, and kind of maybe it's also more kind of UK specific. Go to the pub after work. It just doesn't happen. And yet, I know many people do it at TransferWise. It's great. I'd love to, but I just can't.
But as founders and executives of your companies, do you specifically pay attention that all types of employees and their need for a certain company culture is served well? And Rasmus, can you maybe give a bit of that?
Well, at this moment, most of my employees we just opened a cafe, an ice cream shop in Telliskivi, and most of them are underage, so it's pretty much out of question going pub crawling with them. It's rather like just managing their school schedule to fit into their shifts. But my experience has been that we have not been so much integrating the work life or kind of the office life with family life. It's fairly flexible, but we just have like a few corporate kind of this team building events a year. But I have not felt that this is something to stress that we would be integrating like work life and social life too much.
But on the other hand, I think a company can do a lot to make itself more kid-friendly. Like, I think people going to the pub will happen anyways. So we have a kindergarten in the Tallinn office. In London, we do kids stays in the office, and I'm sure also in other offices. I just don't know so much about it. But like in London, we do it frequently. That we have a kids stay, and everyone bringing their kids, and it's a lot of fun, and maybe it will inspire other people to have kids as well.
So what happens on the kids' day?
Well, I'm in meetings. The kids are playing.
Okay.
No, I mean basically it was a couple of weeks ago. We had one again, and we had basically organized people in the office who wanted to entertain kids. So the different activities, showing them around. It was a ton of fun.
Milda, Elina, how's the things at your companies? I think in
oh.
Rasmus, there's kids coming in and out the whole time with the ice cream shop, right?
Yeah. For us, actually, we are thinking about like kind of kindergarten. Well, actually, it's a babysitter that we would dedicate like meeting room with lots of toys, because like having kids is becoming a mainstream in our company because well, we're getting older. So that therefore we say okay, like well and. Women, especially women, they don't want, most of them women, they don't want to spend like 24 hours per day with their kids. Like, let's admit that, like, because they want to work as well, and they want also like to do some like brain activities, and work is like one of the best way to do this. So in our case, there are so many like women who want to like say, okay, I want to start to work as soon as possible, but I cannot work like 10 hours per day. So like kindergarten or babysitters at work is also might be one of the options just for the meetings. And the other thing, I think it's like for us that works, we switch all the company that we work for the result. Like we don't count how much time you work, like how many hours you spend in the office or somewhere else, like or even at home. We don't count how much you work there, but the result is the most important thing. And like it doesn't matter, is it a mother, is it a father? Is it a party person? Like maybe he likes to work at like in the midnight or during the weekends. The result is the most important, and then everyone is like personalized. They schedule how they work, and I think that this is like the maximum what can company give to the person. So this is what we try to do.
Yeah, definitely. Our office allows kids to come in. Our baby was there already many times when she was a baby. I guess personally one thing that I find most challenging about having kids and combining that to work is the sick time. Like the kids get sick and you get sick yourself more often. And there's actually, I found this out some time ago, that in Finland they have this system that the company can offer to employees to get like a qualified care person to their house, to their home, to take care of the kids when the kid is sick. This is totally voluntary for the employees, because by the law you are allowed to stay home. I think it's like 3 days or something with a sick kid, so you don't have to use it. But as an entrepreneur, for my personal use as well, this is brilliant, because the company pays for the babysitting for the sick child, not any other situation, but for a sick child, and the company will get that actually reduced in the taxes. So there's actually even no payment for the company. So when I found that, I was like, oh, can this be true? And because there are those days that you have an important meeting, or you need to be elsewhere, and then your child gets sick, and you're like, oh. And yeah, so that's quite brilliant. That should be offered by all companies.
Who stays at home with your kids when they're sick? You or your wife?
I'm sorry?
Who stays at home with your kids when they're sick, you or your wife? Or is it like equal game?
Sometimes I still stay home, but you have the option.
We've kind of shifted this, or basically there's been extensive periods where I have been home with the kids. My wife Karin, she has had like some film or theater project in some other city or away for like 2-3 months even. But we know that this will change again. Like then there will be another time when I'm more kind of in tune to work. As long as you have this understanding that you support each other, and then it works. And also kids understand that like there are times where they're more with the mom, and then there are times when they're more with me.
So it's about like a very good partnership and like mutual understanding or common understanding as a family, right? So now to the bias about parenthood. So it's kind of taken for granted that fathers don't need to very much explain anything about the work-life balance or how they handle it, but mothers as founders, CEOs often need to start explaining like how they're gonna balance out their life once they get kids. So what can we do to actually change this bias? Like, why are mothers considered like less of founders, less of executives as soon as they enter into the phase of having families?
I just maybe want to support your thoughts about like that if you're a mother and you want like, because I started to study and I'm studying finance at the moment while I'm on a maternity leave, and it's like no, and we have full-time like nanny, and everyone like comes to me like, so you don't love your kids, like because I have a babysitter, and so like, well really, like, and usually like, and for my husband no one does that, and because like usually it's like babysitter is just for women because she wants to get out, but not for husband actually. So that's, I just wanted to support your thought that actually it's like stereotypes exist, and they live in our society at the moment. So and how to cope with that, I don't know. Like maybe just to prove that you can get everything, like you can live and still be happy, like.
Yeah, I think if you are happy, it helps the kids to be happy, and if what makes you happy is, chasing your dreams, you should do that. And what comes to the balance between the genders, I mean, it starts from, both have a role. The woman has to, the mother has to give space at home for the dad. I mean, you let the dad do things his way. That you are not like, they're consulting all the time and like, telling, oh, no, you're doing it wrong. No, you have to do it this way. The dad has his way of doing things, and he's going to learn it. He's going to do it. I mean, don't step on his toes all the time. Let him take the space. And then the dad needs to take the space and, be there for the kids. And with the first one, when we didn't yet have the company, we divided like 50-50. Like I was home for 6 months, and then the dad was home for 6 months, and that worked for us very well. With the next one, like we took the baby with us because we already had the company, so she was going around. But yeah.
Guys, what's your experience on this?
So I think oftentimes you actually see these people who have kids are much more organized. So they actually learned that they need to be much better at getting shit organized and getting shit done. So it actually might be good that someone has kids, because it actually makes them also a better performing person at work. But I think it's important we talk more about it. We show successful examples of women who have kids, who are entrepreneurs or running companies. Just to show that it's actually possible. There's nothing strange about it.
You want to add on to? Or?
Well, yeah, there are. I mean, first of all, acknowledging that there is a prejudice, there is a problem, it needs to be continuously tackled. I think that if I take Estonia, it has improved a lot over the last 15 years or so. That it's not that kind of set in stone that what are the roles of the mother and the father. I think that a lot has to do with the education system. At the kind of root level or grassroots level, what do we teach our children at school? Meaning that what type of skills, behaviors we expect from girls and boys, are they different? So if you, and this also is like a lot related to how the families of these children, or how the parents, what they expect from their children. But basically, I think it's a continuous problem to work with, and especially in the role of men, we need to be really conscious about it. I mean, this is what you can do at the corporate and company level, is that that you have this backlog. You know that women and men are not coming from the kind of equal standing to this situation.
And I think as companies we can offer support, whether it's a kindergarten at work, or maybe if someone wants to come to work, company can pay for the nanny or something like it. So one thing I've realized is that having a support system around you is important. some people have parents, some can afford a nanny. So like there's a complexity also which comes with money about can you like afford a nanny and blah blah blah. But that's something which companies I think can help more with, and and it's also in the end recognizing it's a personal choice. Mother or father can choose and will choose whether they want to be at home or at work. Some people want to be at home, some people want to be at work. Both are perfectly normal.
So we all come from cultures or jurisdictions where there's quite generous parental leave schemes, right? And how about in your companies? Are fathers taking the parental leave, or is the company encouraging fathers more to take that, or is it still more a mother's thing?
In our company, there was one guy who took parental leave for 6 months. Like for the first was like his wife, and then he. Then my best friend at the moment, they also agreed to do this. Though, like again, like as we talked before, like our discussion that like the opinion about that guy became like from the family. Okay, what are you doing? Because like it's like women's part to stay at home. So it was that strange, because for us it was like natural, because of course we are sharing, because well, sharing is caring. But like for others, especially families who are older, so it wasn't that acceptable. And getting back to our companies, so we don't have so many examples of that parents leave, but we have strict rule, like kind of strict rule that like government gives you 1 or 2 extra days on monthly basis if you have 2 or 3 kids, and the more kids you have, the more days you get like free, like during the month. So they all use this as well, and I honestly talk to them, and I know that they go with kids. Like they say, okay, my wife is going out, or let's say I take them from kindergarten and we go together, just like kids and parents. So that works.
Have you taken out parental leave, either like Taavet, Rasmus, as fathers, when your kids were small?
I did not. That was the time I decided that I should probably need to.
Yeah.
I had a tiny leave when they were born.
Yeah.
Maybe I was home 2 weeks. Yeah. The first one, and the second one I had to go to Australia like 5 days later, which definitely wasn't great.
But do you think it would be necessary for actually the legislation to enforce that certain time is necessary for fathers to be at home for the parental leave? Like in Sweden, there's the whole generation of latte dads or the latte pappor, so the fathers that stay at home with the babies sipping lattes.
I think legislation should make it okay and equal, but I don't think you can force it. In Estonia, it's equal. I think that's great. Unfortunately, in America, it's not that way. So, we as a global company, we need to acknowledge that the way the legal system works is different as well. But I think you can't force it. Society has to grow into it. Sweden is a great example, and we should set that as an example for other countries. But I think Estonia is, it's becoming much more normal here, which is, I think, fantastic to see. And it probably will take centuries for US to catch up on this.
But I would also agree, because maybe it takes time, but like you cannot force people to decide, okay, now you're gonna be parent, and you will work for that. So it takes longer to educate and to get like from deep from your heart that okay, I want to go out and to be a parent on parent holidays, but I think that this is the only one way that you cannot force.
In this regard, I think I disagree. First time probably on the stage.
Good.
Because it is a lot about policy, what the government or the state provides or makes. And if the policy is set in a sense like on a formal level in a neutral way, that anyone can take the parental leave, the fact is that it reinforces the old patterns. It reinforces the same way of what have been the traditional roles in parenting, because that's the everyone, or it's just the easier way to do it. So if there is a change required or foreseen in the society, yes, I agree that it can't come prematurely, that it can't exceed the kind of the public notion or precede the public notion of what is possible. But definitely there is a progressive role that the state should take and design this vehicle so that it would rather promote women back to workplace and dads with the families and children.
Yeah, I agree. There's a lot of discussion in Finland now going on whether we should adapt the Swedish model, and I think it's a matter of time. Hopefully not very long time that something similar will come to Finland. I mean, that still doesn't like force you. I mean, the dad doesn't have to stay home, and I mean, nobody kind of has to stay home. Like you know, you don't have to take the whatever money the government is giving you, and you can always stay home if you can afford, you know, however long. And you know, it's something that, you know, it's just like a guidance. Yeah.
Okay, so now to kids, like as part of the family. So how should we talk to our kids about business and entrepreneurship, so that to foster their entrepreneurial mindsets? What do you do to do that? Taavet, do you want to start? Like, how is it with 2 4-year-olds? Do you already kind of introduce them to business and do something with?
So I think they're still too young to really think about it. You know, obviously they will see, you know, what I'm doing, and you know, also Sylvia has her own entrepreneurial things she's working on. So I think they will see that way. But yeah, maybe they're not too young. I don't know. But we haven't, like, it hasn't been a discussion topic yet. But I think I think there are things we can do, and you know. One idea I've been promoting is that we should be teaching everybody entrepreneurship in school. So it would be amazing if everybody, by the time they finish high school, has had an entrepreneurial experience. Everyone should start a company before they graduate from high school. Most of them would, well, all of them would fail. That's okay. That's how we learn, and I think it will make everyone, you know, a better employee. It will make them better founders in the future. So I think it is important we talk about it. But I think these things, you know, in the end, it's a lot about change in society. And I think they come with examples, you know, success stories, rather than, you know, forcing people to do things necessarily. So, like, you know, I disagree with Rasmus about having a quota. I think, you know, I don't think quotas are great. I think it's more about, you know, having examples, you know, having, you know, people in government, in business, you know, males taking parental leave, you know, talking more about entrepreneurship, and I think we're going in the right direction, you know, in all countries in the world, actually. So.
Rasmus, you with the open school, like, do you agree with Taavet that you should teach entrepreneurship at school, or do you do that these days?
Yes, in the early school years, it's just different projects, like about a third of the teaching time or in our school is in project format, and this could be like just like coming up doing a lemonade stand type of kind of businesses, or then something related to the environment or animal protection, or whichever topic is there on the curriculum. So that you'd use this project as a vehicle to teach kids. So, and I think this should be a kind of a normal way of coming into enabling or the kids understanding that they need to take responsibility for their work or for their life, that it teach them independence, and then like one way of that is definitely being or doing some type of an entrepreneurial project, so that this should be a part of a normal everyday school life.
And I think schools are getting better at that. And there's a lot of like these little robots already in kindergarten that they play with, and you know, there's good things happening. I mean, our older one is already 9 years, so definitely we're kind of already thinking about these kind of things. Because I'm from the gaming industry, so we know games pretty well, and so we're quite strict on choosing, like, okay, these, because there are good kids games which actually teaching you things, and then there are games that are just, you know, not so teaching. I mean, they're fine, but not, you know, maturity. I mean, let's do the good stuff, and And then older one, I've been playing Minecraft a lot with him, and so we try to see what media they consume, and then also that early on they start to produce media as well. Like if they watch videos, they can also know how to make videos and these kind of things. And now he's going to a summer camp where they program games. So you try to include these kind of things. But I guess the main thing though that I would like my kids to learn is the kind of growth mindset. And you hear this a lot, that people have either a fixed mindset, like you have the skills you have and that's what you do with, or then you have a growth mindset where you think that everything is actually, you learn things. And so you praise the practice. You don't praise that, oh, you are clever, you're a clever boy, but you say that, oh, you practiced hard, and that's you remember, we were practicing yesterday, that's why you did so well. So that they actually learn that they can always grow better, and things aren't unreachable because they have some kind of fixed skill set.
So we're almost out of time, so I have one last question, and then we maybe can take a couple from the audience. So what do you think we will gain from having kids at tech conferences? We're having them here today at Latitude, like Henrik was on stage, and maybe next year there could be a whole track of Henriks. What can we gain out of this? Maybe Milda, you want to start?
Well, I totally believe that technologies creates creative people, because with technologies sometimes it looks like everyone is afraid to start to do, like to develop or like to touch technologies, but actually they're just like like a white paper. You can paint anything you want, and I think that what technologies will give to us, and like in conferences like this, they will build much more creators, people who will start from like curiosity, because I know that I can do it on my own. What will happen if I do this? And technologists, they're like, no, they're capable to empower kids. And I think that this is the future I see. We will create lots of creators.
Rasmus?
I think that it's important to kind of tear down the unnecessary barriers or unnecessary prejudices that when and where something could happen. For example, the most capable, talented, amazing employee that I currently have at our cafe, she's 15 years old. I would hire her for the managerial role immediately, but she still needs to finish basic school, and then she needs to have a week with grandmother, and then she has some type of a design camp. But I'm really eager to hire her already. She's 15, so I see no problem or no need to say that like this is the age where you can enter into entrepreneurship or have a startup or something.
Okay.
I think it's really about teaching them about creativity and the builder mindset. And also we need to organize more events for kids. So like there's a great thing in Estonia, AST 2.0, which is focused on that.
So thanks. If there's any questions from the audience, please raise your hand. And there's this, I think, a cube liner.
We still have this Slido, the app, and we have two questions. If I may ask the question first, one is from Anonymous. So one of you asked, can you give him or her any suggestions how to leave work at the door when you leave your office? What do you think, guys and girls? Any good tips?
How to leave, sorry?
How to leave work at the door, how to shift your mindset and focus on your family matters.
I'm pretty good at kind of boxing things. I put them in a box in my mind and I close the box and then I open the box next day. I don't always do that when I leave work. Sometimes I do want to think work. I actually in the train or wherever. Sometimes I continue work after office by decision. But I found it that it's easiest if you have things on your mind, you write them down somewhere, and then you decide that all these things can wait until whatever 9 a.m. tomorrow morning, and then if you have it on the paper, and then you just you close the box.
Was there another?
And we have Evgenia asking, do you think an older person might prefer to work in a stable company with fixed working hours, with insurance and pension?
Sorry, what was the beginning?
Basically, if an older person would prefer to work in a more stable company with pension and fixed working hours. Is it a matter of age?
Define old.
Yes, Evgenia, are you out there?
And it depends on
I
kids'
think
age.
it must be a personality question as well. And I've worked in a bigger company as well, and I think the matter of stable is always always the startups seem very unstable, but sometimes the big ones are unstable as well, and you just don't know it. but yeah, I think it's a matter of personality, not age.
Okay. Does anyone want to add on?
Anyone disagree?
Just, yeah. But then thank you all panelists, and give a round of applause for that cool panel. Yeah. Thank you.